All right, so let's get started. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world from the IATEFL YLTSIG committee. I am Joan Kang Shin, the Online Events Coordinator, and I'm delighted to welcome Malu Sciamarelli, who is our August webinar speaker. Malu is kicking off the inaugural webinar of our special series in collaboration with the Creativity Group. This series will feature until the end of 2018, and you can find out more about the C Group by visiting the website, which I will put right here in the chat box for you. Okay, so hopefully you've got it.
Joanne. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. And if you don't, please just type on the chat. We are from the C group. We are delighted to have this webinar series in collaboration with YLTSIG. And before I start the webinar, I want to talk a little bit about the SIG group. The SIG group is not so much an organization with a dogma, but it is a collection of individual and a cluster of ideas. Many of which the members hold in common. The initial point of contact is that our shared conviction that creativity can be reinforced in loyalty through collective action. But creativity will also take the concrete form of course. Our aim is to make classroom practice more inspiring and therefore more effective. The outcome of our working together will be a cornucopia of concrete ways, techniques, inquiry, and strategies for making teaching more creative and inspiring for both learners and for teachers. And for making to bring us closer to the community outside the classroom walls. So today, with this webinar, I hope I can share more of these techniques and practices that I do in my classroom with young learners. So let's start with that. Play is sometimes contrasted with work and study, and characterized as an activity which is essentially important trivial and lacking any serious purpose. As such, it is seen as something that children do because they are immature and something they will grow out of it. As they become adults. However, from my point of view, this view is mistaken. Play in all its rich variety is one of the highest achievements of human species. Alongside language, culture, and technology. And so this webinar focuses on children's playing for primary learners. That is from 6 to 10 years old, according to international standard classification for education mapping criteria. We live in a world that changes more rapidly than ever before. So that means we have to create solutions to unexpected problems that will arise during those are economic, social, and environmental. Yes, at the same time, the opportunities and support for children's play, which is critical to the development of the abilities they will need as future citizens, able to address these challenges, are under threat. And I believe this arises from increasing urbanization, for increasing stress in family life, and for changes in the educational system. And this worries us a lot as educators. Within the education field, the importance of high-quality childhood education has been increasingly recognized by the research community and by governments and policymakers worldwide. However, this nature of high quality in this context has been contested. While in some countries, the emphasis continues to be upon rich, stimulating experiences, within a nurturing social context. Increasingly, in many countries around the world, the emphasis is on formal skills and formal skills of literacy and numeracy. And they start this at the earliest possible stage. So I believe that this is inimical to the provision and support for rich play opportunities. So now I have a question for you. What do you believe is one vital ingredient in supporting healthy intellectual, emotional, and social development in young children? You can type your answers on the chat. Well, you can keep on typing, but for me, yes, it is the opportunities and support for play. Yeah, so this is what's very important. Yes, the emotional and social environment are just as important as the physical environment. Children learn better when they feel secure, happy, valued, and listened to. This is, from my view, is essential to any learning experiences, including learning a foreign language. Children need a loving, stimulating, and enriching environment with a balance of adult-led activities and child-led activities, and also age-appropriate resources. The adult-led activities, which can be things like stories, songs, rhymes, dance and movement activities, arts and crafts, they give the child exposure to the language, but the child-led activities, the interactions, that happen in the child-led activities, it means when children are playing, they can really support and broaden our child language development, encouraging authentic and meaningful communication in context. The right conditions help children learn even more. In order for play to happen, students need time, permission to take risks and make mistakes, and license to explore new pathways. Through play, children explore, make things, share with others. They are not afraid of failure. They experiment, they invent, they succeed. So I believe that we as teachers need to encourage play, acknowledge its value, offer activities and role modeling, and by doing so, we are also encouraging creative thinking and active engagement, and building the critical skills for children to learn a language and adapt throughout a lifetime. So how would you support a child's creativity and play? So now we have a poll for you with 2 questions. I think Joanne, you can help us now. So the first question is that, do you agree with these statements? Only special people can be creative. You can click on the 4 questions, the 4 statements here. Yes, completely. Yes, partially. No, I disagree completely. And no, I disagree partly. Yes, partly. Okay, so we have 9 answers now. Yes, partly. No, I disagree completely. That's 77% so far. Yes, anybody else? Only special people can be creative. Okay, so we have this now. We have 77% that people that disagree completely. That's my view too. One person agrees with that, and the other disagrees partly. Would you like to say something about this? You can chat. You can type on the chat box. Yes, I believe that everyone has created capabilities that can be encouraged and developed. And so I completely disagree with this statement. The other one is the second statement is play means chaos and only cause discipline problems in the classroom. So I've seen lots of teachers saying that they don't like using play in the classroom because it's going to become a wide chaos, especially in the primary classroom. Yes, still the vote is in progress. Yes, we have. Yes, we're still voting, 8 votes. Still there. I can see people are still voting, or we can see the results now. Yes, 62% said it disagree completely and 37% yes, partly. Well, I think that I disagree completely with that because in order for play to happen, constraints and discipline are very important. So we need to keep the constraints, the limits, and rules. Yes, it's not so. I disagree. Play is not just wild chaos. And so now I'm going to share some of these activities that I do with my classroom and show some children playing too. Um, we can see that the activities that I'm going to share, some of them can be quite simple, and that's why some people think, some teachers think that creativity is only for special people. Only special people can be creative. That's a myth. They can be quite simple, and we should not be afraid of using them. The first activity that I would like to share is the jumping frog. This is a very simple activity, but children like it a lot. So you don't need so much preparation for this activity. You just need squares of thick paper or card, each measuring 21 by 21 centimeters or more. Otherwise, it's going to be too small to do it. You can also have a sticky plastic googly eyes for the frog. Otherwise, the children can just draw. Yeah? What is the language focus of this activity? Instructions for making the origami frog and also can for abilities. So in these activities, you are going to explain to children that they are going to use the paper or the card to make their own origami frog. You demonstrate, you are going to model this activity, demonstrate how to do it, explain the language, then you are going to ask them to draw, to glue the googly eyes or to draw. Then they have to introduce their frog, describing what they can and they can do. After that, you just let them play with it. And then we are going to see that when they're playing, they are using the language, they are using English. And so we have a video now that we're going to see some of my students. In these videos, they are from 7 to 9 years old and they are introducing their frogs and playing with that. And so I don't know if everybody could see the video. Yes, and look, sometimes you can hear that they change they alternate the language. They alternate English when they're playing. I mean, they alternate English to their mother language, that in my case is Portuguese, but that's not a problem. As with children, that is completely acceptable. They're going to, in time, they're going to use only English. Yes, what is important is that they are using it in a communicative way. Yes, and so this is a very nice activity to do with these children. Yes, the other activity too, that's quite fun, is the sock puppets. In the sock puppets is quite simple to do too. What you need is old socks. You have to make sure children bring old socks, that they don't buy anything new. Markers, buttons, pompons, googly eyes, they're optional too. What is the language they're going to use? What is it made from? So while they're doing the puppets, they have to explain. They have to explain, yeah, so this is the language it's made from. So we have to, and then we can work in a more social way to reuse, to recycle. That's why it's very important for them to bring old socks. Yes, and then in this specific activity, I use parts of the house. So you can focus on any part of the language that you are working with at the moment and use the sockets, the puppet sockets to use that too. And so here it's a short video too, where the children, they are going to introduce their puppets. They're going to say where they live, so they're practicing parts of the house, and also what they like eating here. Yes. And then after, it's not in the video, but after you can just let them play with that. And you see that they're going to use language in context too. Um, so we can play the video now.
Hello, my name is I live in Pato. I love it and cake. Hello, my name is Trina. I kitchen. I love cake. Hello, my name is Tata. I like you. I love eating pasta. Hello, my name is Harry. I live in bedroom. I love eating. Hello, my name is Tutankhamun. You live in? I live in living room. I love eating sushi. Hello, my name is Vivi.
Mm. Okay, so I think you could all see the video, see and hear the video. And I can see here that Mike is asking how the use of L2 is encouraged in a spontaneous way. It's through play. Yes, there's no other answer. So I work, they have so much fun. Yes, and they know that they
I
cannot
like
use their
the
mother language.
my
So they're going
class
to use play in this
because
communicative way
I
and funny way.
learn
They're having
new
fun. That's
things.
what's the most important
I
thing.
can hug my friend and I can play.
And now another very simple activity. It's whispering. That's not nothing new, but the way that is done, yes, it is nice. So what do you have to do in here? You have to make pieces of paper with words or sentences that you want to work with, and you're going to focus the language that you want to work with. It can be used as a warmer or as something to review the vocabulary. Yes. So you have to arrange them into two groups. They're facing each other, but one student is going to face the other. Yes, across the room. They have to whisper their words or sentences. Yes, they have to whisper. They cannot shout. Yes, and the other students, so you can either make them write or they have to reproduce, so they will be repeating. That's a kind of a drilling exercise too. You set the time and you make it a competition, and so they will have lots of fun with that. With this exercise, we work with pronunciation, being clear, gestures. They are allowed to make gestures when they are whispering, and not making noises when they are speaking. So that's also an activity that's going to work with discipline in class. A variation of this activity is the spelling. So we are going to use the same
So are there
context,
any
but instead
questions?
of
Please feel free
whispering, we are
to put
going
them
to
in the
spell
chat
that word.
box.
So if you
I
choose
think
to do
that
spelling,
Mike
it's
had
better
a
to use
follow-up
words and not sentences.
question.
Otherwise, they are going to
He
be
asked
tired and
about
lose interest in the activity.
the,
Hmm?
English only
Another
rule in
activity
the
that is
classroom, and
one of
he
these two
had asked you
is
about how do you
stories
encourage the
on the
English.
wall.
So
So
do you
this is a
have an English only
variation
rule, and can you
as of
explain a little bit about how
the
you
running dictation. It's
manage
very
between
similar to
two
the running
languages?
dictation. All you have to do is to use papers with very short stories written on them and glue on the walls across the room. Yes, again, you're going to focus on the language you want to work with. Yes, the language focus, it can be the warmer or to review the vocabulary. Again, you're going to divide the students into two groups. They're going to work in pairs. One is going to be sitting one side of the room. The other is going to run up to look at the stories, come back, but here, instead of repeating, they are going to write. That's why it has to be very short stories. Give them time, make it a competition. They're going to have lots of fun. In this particular activity, you're going to work with grammar and spelling. But once the activity is ready and they have all their stories written, you are not going to correct. You as a teacher are not going to correct them. They have to go see what the original story was, read them out loud, and see what's missing. And so in this activity, they're going to also create awareness of the language. And I've been doing these activities for some time, and I can see that these students, when they realize the mistakes they make, they're not going to make them again in the future because they create awareness of what was done in the past. Yeah. Another activity that is so much fun to do is the paper airplane. Yes. And here, all you have to do is a paper airplane, and so then you can create lots of different airplanes if you want to work with origami and language of instructions too. You can use to review vocabulary and use chunks of the language. The focus here will be asking questions and answering questions. Yeah, so in here you are going to draw a target on the board with points, just like a dartboard. If you prefer, you can also make it and bring it to the class. Or you can use a cardboard box in the middle of the room. Yeah, so that's what I do. Yes, and so they have more fun with that. The students, they will make the paper, and you are going to give into two groups again in pairs. To one group, you're going to give them this paper with questions. And the other student that's from the same group, they have to answer the questions, but the question has to be correct. Once they get the correct answer, they can throw the plane and to see if you reach the cardboard box or if you reach the dartboard. Yeah, so what's important in here is that the students, they are going to repeat the questions, and they are going to repeat the answers until they are right. So this is another kind of drilling exercise, drilling in a very funny and playful way. And they enjoy it a lot. Another activity that they have lots of fun is the hoop grinder. So for these activities, you're going to use a little bit more time. So we are going to use 30 minutes to 40 minutes or even more, depending on how many students you have in your group. Yes, what you need is a regular plastic drinking straw, index card or stiff paper, and tape. Yeah, so what you're going to work with here? Directions, transports, in this case the focus is on plane, yes, and explaining how something works.
Yes, thank you so much, Malu, for a great webinar. I think we can all agree
So
that it was
here you
full
have to
of
cut the index
useful and
card
creative
or stiff
ideas for
papers into
children's
3
play in
separate pieces of
ELT. And I
measure
just
1
love
inch
that
or
you're
2
bringing your own
centimeters by
experience
5
and
inch
shared
or
some
13
videos of your
centimeters.
own
I'm going to go
students. That was
back
just fabulous, and
to
we
this
can't
picture
thank
so you
you
can see how
enough
it looks.
for
Yeah,
bringing
so
that
this
to
is the
this
first one.
webinar.
You're going to
And
take the 2
we
pieces of
hope you
paper
enjoyed today's
and tape them
YLT
together
SIG
into a hoop.
C Group
So
webinar.
be sure to
And don't
overlap,
miss
as
the
you can
next
see here
webinar in
in
the
this
series,
image.
which will
The
be
piece is
on
about half an inch or 1
September
centimeter,
29th.
so that they can
It will
keep
be
a
about
nice
CLIL
round
and
shape
learning
once they are
technologies for a
taped.
creative learning
You're going
environment
to use
by
the left
Letizia
stick to make a
Signanotto.
smaller hoop,
And keep an eye on
overlapping
the
the
SIG
edge,
social
the
media
edges a little
channels
bit
in
like
early
before.
September for the
You're
time
going
and
to
other
take the paper
details.
hook
And
to
I
the
did put
end
up the
of the
link in the
straw,
chat box
as you can see in
for
the
our
image.
Facebook
Now, make
page.
children hold the straw in the middle with the
Finally,
hoops on the
I'd
top
like to
and throw in
announce
the air,
that
similar
following
to
the
how you
success
might
of
throw
the
a dart
YLT6
angle,
inaugural
slightly
web
up.
conference in
With some
2017, the
practice, the
committee has
students can
decided
get it to be
to make the
further
web conference an
than
annual
many
feature of our
paper
online events
airplanes. Yes,
calendar.
and
And
while they are
so, if
throwing,
you take a
they are
look at
working with the
this
language. They have to
next
describe
slide
what's
here,
happening,
you will
which
see
one
that
is going
this year's
further. They're going to work
non-stop
with the distance
24-hour
and the
web conference
directions too,
themed
where they go
around the
if they reach
YLT
one side
world
of the
in
room and the other.
24 hours
Yeah?
will be on Sunday,
And
November
so how does it
4th.
work?
And will
Can they
feature
really call it a
30
plane?
speakers,
Yes,
each
it
giving
may look
30-minute
strange, but they
talks
will discover
representing
that it flies
YLELT
surprisingly
from
well.
30
It's
different
true that
countries.
you can
The speaker
explain and
lineup
make
will
them
reflect
explain this
most
too.
regions,
The
including the
two
Americas,
sizes of the hoop
Europe,
help the straw
Central and South
balances as
Asia,
it
East
flies.
Asia, the
And so
Middle
they're going
East and North
to
Africa,
have fun with
Sub-Saharan
that. The
Africa,
hoop
and
hook creates air
Australasia.
resistance,
The web
which
conference
helps
will
keep
be
the straw
open to the
level, while
public,
the
just like
smaller
this
hook at the
webinar.
front
And
keeps the
as the
slider from
YLT SIG
burning
Adobe
off,
Connect
of
Room hosts
course.
500
And as they
delegates, you
make
can
this
invite
discovery,
all of
they're
your
going to use the
colleagues.
language
So please let
and describe
everyone
what's
you know
happening.
about our special
To
event.
make it even more
Please
fun,
keep in
we can
touch through
make
our
it
social media
interactive.
channels
So
in
you
the
can
coming
ask them
weeks to
while
discover
after they're
who's in the
playing. You
fantastic
can
global
ask this
speaker
question:
lineup.
does the placement of
And
the hoops
so
on the
once
straw
again, I
affect
just
the
want to
slide
thank you for
distance?
joining us.
So they
And
can change it. They
let's
make other
give a
ones or
little round of
changing the
applause,
original
even though
and
she's
try
not going
it.
to be able to hear, to Malu for
If
a
the length of the
fantastic
straw affects the
webinar.
slide, so you can
Thank you
put the
all.
straws or attach straws together
Thank
to
you
test
so
them.
much.
Do more hoops
So we'll
help the
see you
hoop
next
grinder to
month.
fly better?
Bye-bye.
And do the hoops have to be lined up in order for the plane to fly well?